Welcome back to CSO Global's podcast series, where sustainability meets strategy and innovative solutions shape the future of business. I am Meeta. This is episode 3, where we are introducing a game changing concept that's set to revolutionize how businesses approach ESG transformation, that is, on demand Chief Sustainability Officer services. In our previous episodes, we explored green financing and MSME pathways. Today, we are addressing a fundamental challenge. How can businesses access world-class ESG expertise without the prohibitive costs of hiring a full-time CSO? The reality is stark. While ESG compliance is becoming mandatory across sectors, quality CSO talent is scarce, expensive, and often beyond the reach of small and medium enterprises. But what if we could democratize access to this expertise? Today, I am joined by our exceptional team of ESG specialists who collectively form CSO Global's on-demand CSO consortium. Dr. Vijaya Pavalari, an independent consultant in ESG strategy, systems, and reporting, including PRSR. David Kolzer, technology and data systems specialist for ESG reporting and automation. Mr. Raminder Pal Singh, project finance expert focusing on borrower side green financing solutions, and Siddharth A.S., innovative specialist covering emerging ESG areas and stakeholder engagement. Let's begin by understanding the ESG talent crisis and market reality. Dr. Vijaya ma'am, we want to start with you with this fundamental question. Why is there such a shortage of quality ESG expertise in the market?
Well, Meeta, I think basically if you look at ESG, it involves a multi-domain, multidisciplinary knowledge. It calls for expertise in, we should say, understanding the regulatory regulations actually, compliances, that's what we mean. Of course, including environment, financial modeling, and also technology integration, which actually requires an integration of all these domains. And I think obviously, so a single person would not have the kind of breadth of knowledge that is needed here in the case of, complete ESG. And also, if we look at the changing landscape, we see that ESG regulations are evolving rapidly at a global level and, of course, in India too. And if and it's also moving towards convergence of the ESG standards and, of course, so many other metrics, etc. So I mean, there's a need, therefore, to look at so many dimensions which requires, multiple expertise. And hence, I think we see that this kind of breadth is truly in shortage. It's only because of the breadth of knowledge, essentially. Yeah.
David, from a technology perspective, how does this complexity manifest?
Thanks for the question, Meeta. The data challenge is immense. Modern ESG requires sophisticated data collection, analysis, and reporting systems. Companies need professionals who understand both the technical and the regulatory framework. For instance, carbon accounting isn't just about collecting energy bills anymore. It requires understanding Scope 3 emissions, supply chain mappings, and automated data integration. Most companies lack this capability internally.
Thank you. From the financial sector's perspective, let me add in that banks and financial institutions are struggling too. The RBI's new guidelines require banks to assess climate risks in their lending portfolios, Many banks lack this expertise to evaluate ESG projects and structure green financial products. The cost of building this capability internally is enormous. Even large banks are finding it challenging to recruit and retain qualified ESG professionals. So, Mr. Raminder, what about the borrower side? How are businesses coping up?
Thank you, Meeta. I'd like to say the frustration on the industry side is palpable. Business know they need to adopt ESG practices, but they don't know where to start and how to access appropriate financing. A typical manufacturing MSME might spend 6 to 12 months trying to understand green loan requirements, often without success. They need expert guidance but can't afford a full-time CSO who might cost 50 to 80 lakhs annually Indian rupees, and which is in, I'll say, close to $100,000. That's the cost of a CSO, full-time CSO.
So, Siddharth, how does this impact innovation and emerging areas?
Namaste, Mita. Thank you so much for that question, and I'm pleased to be part of this panel today. So, to answer your question, what we see is there is a significant talent shortage where there is demand for such services among the larger companies because of compliance. So, compliance is driving the demand for such specialists, and because of that demand, there is a significant shortage of good advisors here. So companies are focused on basic compliance as of now. Somehow the industry believes that using local regulator approved reporting standards or locally approved or internationally approved frameworks, just following them and reporting them is somehow achieving sustainability targets. And therefore industries kind of miss the opportunities in circular economy, nature-based solutions, and stakeholder capitalism as well. So since compliance as it stands today is applicable to larger entities, MSMEs feel that this wouldn't affect them. So we are seeing there is a need for a new model that might make high quality ESG expertise accessible to businesses of all sizes.
So now let me introduce the solution, the on-demand CSO services. Dr. Vijaya ma'am, how does this concept work?
The on-demand CSO services basically is, I should say, a very good model for all the sectors, essentially because it is a partnership or it brings a collective expertise from, as we mentioned earlier, multi-domains. And it is not just the expertise, but they're bringing in the experience in every sector also of each of the member or the partner of CSO Global. And hence, it would offer project-specific solutions and solutions needed by the industry based on the maturity levels also. So it's, I should say, it provides a very tailor-made solutions to the industry and in a very cost-effective manner, which probably a full-fledged officer would not be able to cater to all the kind of projects or requirements. Yeah.
So David, what are the different engagement models possible under this option?
Well, most common is project-based, and that's what we've done most recently for a specific initiative. For example, need to implement an ESG data solution or achieving an ISO certification, or perhaps preparing for green financing. And those timelines may range from 3 to 12 months, depending on the complexity of the engagement. So project number one, and then second would just be a time-based retainer. And this model simply would have a monthly support amount that allows ongoing ESG management. Clients get allocated hours based on their package. And maybe for a small business, it could be 20 hours. For a large, it could be 120 hours, et cetera. and again, just a time-based retainer. And then perhaps another option that over time, because of this domain, is a milestone driven. So for each individual deliverable, you would complete a task, pay for that, and move on for specific outcomes like preparing for BRSR report, or maybe a carbon footprint assessment. Again, that's something we've done before, or ESG rating improvement. And again, those very specific milestone or task-based. And then perhaps hybrid. The hybrid model allows kind of a combination of several of those, depending on what the business need is and what the cycle is. So lots of options depending on what the customer needs.
Okay, thank you. So now let me explain how this works for financial institutions. So banks can engage us for specialized projects like developing green lending policies, training credit teams on ESG evaluation, or conducting climate risk assessments of loan portfolios. So instead of hiring multiple full-length ESG specialists, they get access to our entire team's expertise. For example, I might be leading the banking framework development, while Dr. Vijaya ma'am could be handling the certification requirement. David sir could be managing technology integration. So that's how it's managed. So now coming to Mr. Ramendra sir, what about businesses seeking green financing?
Meeta, we guide businesses through the entire green financing journey, from project identification to loan closure. This might involve project assessment and green eligibility evaluation, documentation preparation and banking partner identification, application support and negotiation assistance, and implementation monitoring and compliance reporting. So there are certain timelines involved to it. It's the whole process, like if the assessment and eligibility evaluation may take about 1 to 2 months, followed by document preparation and banking partnership, and then application support, negotiation with the banks for favorable terms of lending. The entire process may be a 6 months time period within which we may be able to close this. So that way we can this support our this clients, and they only need to pay for the support they need. So they, whatever services they may choose, we can handhold, we can assist them. And this is one key support which CSO can provide.
Sure. I'm happy to inform that Mr. Hargovind Sachdev, our Executive Director and a banking veteran, has also joined the podcast. Before I speak to him, I would like to know from Siddharth. So how do you handle diverse industry requirements?
Thank you, Mehta. So, see, as Dr. Vijay was explaining earlier, no one single individual can have the multidisciplinary or multi-domain specialization that is required in assisting a company to achieve its ESG goals, whether it be reporting or even implementing them. So the kind of models that we have been proposing or we have been working around is a kind of a consortium model, where each team member brings sector-specific expertise. So for example, Dr. Vijay here, she comes from a real estate and manufacturing background. She could assist companies in the real estate and manufacturing sectors to achieve respective goals, respective ESG certifications and goals. Mr. David Cole, for example, he comes with technology and data integration background. So the kind of the phases or the stages where we require the company to implement data collection and data integration to monitor and to implement and monitor its progress, that requires a specialist there. Banking experts, where you require what the bank needs and what the bank needs to satisfy as its priority or as its criteria, and what the borrower needs to do to satisfy those criteria, and the borrower specific requirements as well. So those kind of services, expecting one individual to do that would be too much, and it could also be time consuming. splitting these kind of expertise around a consortium with individuals managing or specialists managing those particular phases or stages of the project helps in delivering a good model. So for example, I focus in emerging sectors like renewable energy and healthcare, and hard to abate sectors such as metal and chemicals. So my focus is limited to 3 or 4 sectors that I'm reasonably aware of. So with this kind of sector focus, we are rapidly able to assemble. So, like me, there are other specialists, so we're rapidly able to assemble a right team for any kind of industry and for any kind of project specific for that particular industry.
Sure. So Siddharth, can we understand what are the economics and value proposition of an on-demand CSO as a service? I mean, how does the cost comparison work out?
See, it's back to the build or buy fundamentals. So if it's a manufacturing unit, you want to there's an option for you, whether you build it or you buy it from some other people or from some other vendors. Then, so similarly, the way that we have proposed the way that we have structured our services is comparing it between your full-time CSO and the on-demand CSO that we have. So for example, a full-time CSO would have a salary of maybe about 50-80 lakh rupees per year. So as that could be about $100,000 annually, with benefits of maybe 25-30% and additional infrastructure to house that CSO, office systems, additional travels. So maybe you're looking at anywhere between 75-80 lakh rupees to about a 1.5 crore investments in a year annually, and compare that against the on-demand CSO that we are doing. So you don't, first of all, you don't. It's a kind of outsourcing the activity of a CSO to a company like us, right? So where we have that value addition. So you don't have to have that full-time annual salary that you have to pay. So you have 60-70% savings on that itself. Then there is an immediate expertise. So for example, in some cases, a full-time CSO would have to spend a significant amount of time even trying to understand the problem. Of course, he might be an industry specialist, but even so, a project-specific requirement would require some time in learning. With us, that you don't have that learning curve timeline. So you have an expertise. You have an expert who hits the ground running. Then you have multi-specialist access. So, for example, a project might require specialists in different phases of the project. When we engage or when we are engaged for a project, we do line up those kind of specialists in each for the requirement of each phase of the project, and it can be scalable. So the engagement can be scalable. You start with one factory today, you have probably about another 10-15 factories to go by. So you start with one and you see the effects, it works for you well, and then we are able to scale it up immediately for the next year. So sometimes that kind of engagement with someone like us would help you in reducing costs, reducing time, and to scale up your implementation in multiple projects or multiple factories or multiple facilities quickly enough. So that's how we work. That's how it will work. The comparison will work.
So, Dr. Vijay ma'am, are there any quality concerns? I mean, can a part-time engagement deliver the same results?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, but probably a natural offshoot. Yeah. But then, see, I basically look at quality as a product of expertise rather than the time factor. And I think we have come of age where professional services, I think, are proven to be accountable too. So when I look at quality, as we said earlier, this consortium or the collective expertise is so valuable. I think the results would be much farther than a single person. Yes, in large scale industries who can afford a full-time CSO, fine, that's good because they would coordinate. But I think in terms of commitment to quality, I think equally the expertise or the professional services who do the same job, I see no concern, essentially because, as repeat again, expertise brings quality. I think I would conclude on that.
David, how do you ensure continuity and relationship building in this kind of a scenario?
Another good question. Again, we've kind of hit on this a little bit, but we have dedicated relationship managers for each client to ensure continuity. While specialists might rotate based on project needs, the relationship manager remains constant. We also use collaborative platforms that maintain product history, client preference, institutional knowledge. This enables seamless handovers and consistent service quality. Monthly check-ins, quarterly strategy reviews maintain the relationship depth that clients expect.
Sure. Hargovind sir, welcome to the podcast. Let's bring you in. Can you explain how can this kind of an arrangement work across different geographies?
Thank you, Meeta. Point is that CSO Global has footprints in Northern Hemisphere as well as Western Hemisphere, Eastern Hemisphere. We have experts in US. Mr. David is himself present today. We have experts in India, Dr. Vijaya, Mr. Raminder, Mr. Siddharth. They're all domain experts in their own way, and they're all scattered all around India in various geographies. So we have domain knowledge of most of the geographies across the globe. In India, which is the primary market for CSO Global, we have experts who have domain knowledge of the various compliance regulations of Reserve Bank of India, SEBI, Ministry of Environment, various regulations, and of course, the local state government regulations. So they are deeply ingrained in our experts, and we fall on them to advise our clients across India. In USA, Mr. David is there helping us, guiding us. And then we have, experts on SEC climate disclosures there who, take along that wisdom to guide the clients there. In Middle East, we have experts who have understanding of regional sustainability frameworks, Islamic finance principles, and local regulatory requirements. In Southeast Asia, of course, knowledge of ASEAN sustainability standards and country-specific regulations are available with us. This multi-jurisdictional expertise is helping CSO Global to carve out a niche with its client and provide valuable guidance to our clients.
Raminder sir, which industries are you currently focusing on?
Meeta, we are industry agnostic, but we do have a deep expertise in a few key sectors. Let me cite a few examples. In the financial services side, banking, insurance, NBFC, where we can provide our services, regulatory compliance, and green product development. Manufacturing, automotive, textile, chemicals, operation optimization, and green financing. Infrastructure, real estate, power transportation, project level ESG financing, technology, IT, data centers, energy efficiency and carbon neutrality. These kind of services we can provide in data centers and IT services. And if we talk about healthcare, which is hospitals and pharmaceuticals, so we can provide our services, our expertise in waste management and social impact. I should also say about MSME sector in general, where it's across all industries, basic ESG compliance and financing access services. They're emerging sectors, e-commerce, fintech, renewable energy, where they have specialized ESG requirements that could be fulfilled by us.
Siddharth, so how do you handle this industry-specific requirements?
See, each industry has unique ESG challenges and opportunities. So it is important to view these challenges and opportunities through the prism of climate risk and opportunities. So, for example, when we look at banking, for example, Then we look at credit risk assessment, uh, which means how much of their credit is going to what sectors? Are they going to be environment friendly sectors, or are going to be environment non unfriendly sectors? We assess that through, again, the way that ESG works is, and this is my understanding, has held me in good stead, is to say that to view it through a prism of climate risk and opportunity. So green product development will be an opportunity while it is mitigating the risks, but it is an opportunity to invest in a growing sector. It's investing in a growing industry. And regulatory compliance. So once you look at the risk, then if you satisfy that risk and mitigated it, then automatically it becomes a kind of an opportunity. Similarly, for manufacturing sector, first is to account for carbon emissions. If you manage waste, if you don't manage waste, you're going to be penalized. If you manage it, that becomes an opportunity for you to design it better to be more efficient. Similarly, with energy efficiency, more energy intensive organizations. I mean, for example, for manufacturing units which are going to be exporting to Europe, for example, they will have to face the carbon border adjustment mechanism, the carbon tax. And if they are not efficient, if they're not energy efficient, if they don't green their supply chains, then those compliance risks if you manage those compliance risks, then it becomes an opportunity for you to gain more market share. So the way that we handle industry-specific requirements is to understand the risks that they are likely to face and see what is the counterpart opportunity that we can develop for them, or that we can implement, so that the exercise itself becomes an incentive for the company to go ahead. And because of our consortium approach, we are able to assemble the relevant expertise to kind of map this. I mean, a waste specialist might not be able to address your energy requirements, but because our consortium would have an energy specialist looking at it. So that particular requirement then comes from that particular expert then. So that consortium approach is what will help in assembling the right expertise and delivering the right solutions for the sector in question, and for the specific challenges that the sector faces there. Yes.
So now let's see what is the vision for the future and what are the key emerging market trends. Raminder sir, where do you see the on-demand CSO market heading, the model heading?
Meeta, this is a transformational moment. I'm from a banking industry. So when I look back about 2 decades ago, chief risk officer was a buzzword in the banking industry. Today, there are regulatory requirements, see, in 2 decades. So now it's central to all the banking operations, CRO's office. Be it this on the operational risk side, or on the policy development, or approval of a big loan. So CRO's office plays a very big role. Of course, the risk management was there in the banks before that also, but there was no office as such which was central to the whole operations of a bank. The same thing I'm visualizing today when Chief Sustainability Officer, it's a buzzword, but is going to be central to an organization's operations. Okay, let me elaborate further. We are seeing several key trends: regulatory acceleration. ESG compliance requirements are expanding rapidly across sectors. The demand for expert guidance will only increase. Technology integration, AI and automation are making ESG management more sophisticated, but also more complex. Companies need experts who understand both domains. Supply chain integrations, ESG requirements are moving beyond company boundaries to entire value chain. This requires specialized expertise and industry knowledge. If I may speak about financial integration, ESG factors are becoming central to investment and lending decisions. Companies need experts who understand both ESG and finance, and global standardization. International frameworks are converging, both local implementation, but local implementation varies. Multi-jurisdictional expertise becomes essential. So this is a trend which I'm seeing emerging today on the Chief Sustainability Officer side.
Sure. So, Siddharth, what emerging areas are you most excited and focused about?
See, there are there are a few exciting developments here, which means, let's say, for example, a company would want to achieve net zero targets. It's again, net zero will fall under as a subset of your ESG things, ESG achievements. So, for example, if a company has to achieve net zero, the way that it achieves is reduces its energy consumption, reduces its waste consumption, reduces its water consumption, and then even after that, if there is a balance amount of energy left, all of these are related with emission reductions, right? So when you have emission reductions at some point, you would also want to offset it. Now a company, let's say for example, is a steel company or a textile company. What connects steel company to tree plantation? Nothing. But because of the ESG movement, or because of the uh, requirement to be more and more reporting, to be more and more sustainable about this, very different sectors are converging to deliver a solution to delivering a solution to achieve sustainability. So, for example, I am excited about nature-based solutions and energy transition. So companies are being forced to choose renewable energy, not because now it is sustainable, but because it is it's more economical. So there is an interest among even MSMEs, not because of compliance. MSMEs are adopting renewable energy power because it's now economics. It's now favorable economics. Similarly, they're approaching nature-based solutions largely because they've tasted blood in some cases. They have seen that if their score improves in terms of in front of their customers as a greener company, as a more sustainable company, then they take more effort and more uh, time to offset their emissions by approaching nature-based solutions. So companies or industries that had no relation, steel company, for example, textiles, for example, no relation with tree plantation, are coming to something like this. Energy transition usually would have said, my energy comes from the government, it comes from the grid, I'm happy with it. But now the economics is now driving the demand for energy transition. Similarly, so this is taking care of the NE part of things. Supposing, for example, you also have the social measurements that you have to take. So social impact measurement, how you are quantifying the social outcomes uh, that are within the radius of your area of action. So, for example, if you operate in a particular district, particular village, or particular region, how is your behavior over there affecting the local power stakeholders over there, and are we able to quantify it? So there is a bit of social science and also data analytics that is required. So this kind of convergence of seemingly disparate areas is the offshoot, or is the what you would say is the consequence of having to achieve sustainability. And that kind of convergence of two seemingly disparate areas is what excites me to be part of this journey here. So the you have to have that kind of expertise. I'm harking back to what I've said earlier. You have to get those kind of relevant experts to come together and work together. So which is why that on-demand expertise might make more sense than to have in-house expertise here. Yeah, that's what I wanted to explain.
Thanks. Dr. Vijaya ma'am, how is CSO Global positioned for the future?
Yeah, Meeta, I think I'll give a slightly, a little more detailed my view on this. As we see even today, um, we see that we have the compliances and we have the large scale sector. and then we have the MSMEs, and we also have the banking regulations. Except for a few top companies, I think there is a huge gap, even in the MSME sector or in many large-scale industries, on how exactly to transition to ESG, what should be the way forward, and even regarding the frameworks and alignment, number one. Number two, MSMEs obviously have their own challenges, and few are not even, I think, completely aware of the ESG benefits, unless, of course, they're getting a pressure from the, I'm not saying even only the MSM, even the large scale, customer audits is proving to be a pressure on them. And of course, export-oriented MSMEs. These people are sensing a lot of pressure and they are trying to move on, but they require help, number one. Number two, as we said, the financial sector is another division, but it's not reached out. In fact, when we talk about sustainable finance or green finance, though there are schemes, they've not really reached out to all the MSMEs, because ultimately, all these institutions, even if they are prepared or aware and prepared, they need finance. So, how to access them? How to bridge the gap essentially between the regulatory, between all these stakeholders, and finally reach out to the industries is, I think, a very pressing need today and will naturally become a future demand, or I should say, a pressure with more and more evolving regulations. I think, in light of this, I would like to mention that even as an independent expert, I had to take a team of experts. We worked as a team. So when we have to scale up, I think so CSO Global is come out with a model, which is a scalable model. I think Siddharth has elaborated on it. So this kind of scalable model will be able to address the larger needs of ESG implementation, actually. And two, it is meeting the needs because it is bringing the global expertise in terms of regulatory, frameworks, especially standards, metrics. We talk about TCFD, GRI, or any frameworks as such, even the climate initiatives. I mean, it's just a plethora of things that are happening. So CSO, with its global expertise, is bringing all these and helping the industry to transition to the global standards. Because I think even now we are in a stage of evolution. But I think when we bring all the global, we are able to move forward in a better way, number one. Number two, this model, since it's bringing in multi-domain experts, as we've all, mentioned, it can cater very well to across industries, across sizes, and also to offer very cost-effective solutions to even the small industry. And as I said, CSO can offer a bridge between stakeholders. That I think is a very, very important role it can play. And as Hargovind and others, Ravinder Singh and all others are mentioning, the CSO Global is multi-jurisdictional. That is, it operates in more than one country. And that's such an advantage because whether large or medium, in an age where companies are having or trying to have a footprint in other countries, this multi-jurisdictional expertise is going to be really valuable. So I think definitely this model is, is really good. And more importantly, Meeta, the whole ESG spirit lies on collaboration and collective partnerships. I think that's one thing which is really, I should say, the CSO Global is resting on. And of course, by delivering value to all these stakeholders, and I'm sure this model is really going to contribute, very well to the growth of, not growth, the implementation of the ESG and help in transitioning in a better way. I think I would put it like that, yes. And as I said, just to add on that, we noticed that, especially when it comes to MSMEs, Even when we take about sustainable finance, the finance itself, they will get it, but it's again restricted to certain areas. They may or may not have expertise again in the data part or the reporting part. So there's so many multiple requirements and needs, wherein I think this consortium approach, I should say, in serving the needs of the industry, um, yeah, would be very, very valuable, in fact. Yeah, it's a very good initiative and thought, I think, which has started off in CSO Global. Yeah, it is not just for the future, but it is even needed now, and definitely will be needed for the long term. Yes, Mita.
Thank you. So, David, how do we get started? I mean, for businesses who are listening to us today, what should be their first step?
Well, we have to ask ourselves or ask yourself a few questions. First, basic question would be, do you understand your current ESG risk and opportunities? Many of my esteemed colleagues have already mentioned that. So a basic risk assessment. Are you prepared for upcoming regulatory requirements? You know your business, you know the regulations. Ask yourself if you're ready to deal with those. And then another question perhaps you might ask yourself is, do you have the internal expertise to manage ESG transformation? That question alone is why we form CSO Global. We don't believe most companies are going to have the internal expertise, which leads you to, where do I go from there? Another question, are you accessing or assessing the ESG related financing and investment opportunities? I think Siddharth hit on that earlier. There's all kind of business opportunities that may come from just being a good ESG citizen. And then next question, are your stakeholders satisfied with your sustainability performance? Again, that could be internal, external stakeholders, regulators, stockholders, et cetera. So if you're uncertain about any of these questions, it's time to consider professional ESG support, and CSO Global is the place to start.
Hargobind sir, what about companies who are already working on ESG but are probably feeling overwhelmed?
Oh, it's very, very important question. See, this is a new science. It's just evolving and it has to be accepted as a challenge and it cannot be embraced overnight. We suggest to all our clients that please adopt ESG in a phased manner. The first phase would be to get compliant to immediate regulatory requirements of your domain, of your country, and then optimize operations for efficiency and cost savings. If you have these two steps initiated, you start conserving your cash, you start changing your processes, and you start optimizing your operations, and then those results in a lot of efficiencies. Build on them under phase three, unlock financing and investment opportunities, and then take it to the most required phase, that is build competitive advantage through sustainability leadership. If these four phases are embraced by our clients in a methodical way, they will definitely not feel overwhelmed or underwhelmed. They will be on the right side of the ESG guidelines of their local government guidelines. And, on-demand support from our side means that a company can scale uh, to the requirements of ESG capabilities as it grows, as its business grows, and its requirements evolve. So we would suggest that please do not be overwhelmed because this may be a new science, but this has to be a philosophy of life cycle of an industry because this is the future of an industry if you want to remain competitive.
Uh, there are MSMEs may think that ESG is too expensive or too complex. Ramendra sir, what advice would you give to them?
Meeta, my advice to MSMEs will be start small, but start today. If I may state, many ESG initiatives actually save money while improving compliance. For an example, if you take energy efficiency in an organization, will reduce the operational cost of the manufacturing. Waste reduction, similarly, it improves resource utilization. Green financing offers low interest rate, um, and ESG compliances open new markets. As Siddharth mentioned earlier, so the requirements for the European Union and CBAM, and so that will be my advice to the industry. And our starting package is as low as rupees 75,000, which is less than $1,000 monthly, which makes professional ESG support accessible even for smaller businesses. It's the businesses should consider this as an investment, is not an expenditure, and it also improves their future viability.
So, what is the message to listeners considering this journey, Siddharth?
Uh, so, see, uh, we consider to look at ESG as a cost, then we are not going anywhere. So, first of all, ESG is not an option anymore. It's a business imperative. It is necessary. It is becoming necessary. Compliance might force you, but economics is going to be the incentive for a lot of businesses to choose ESG, as Ravinder sir was just explaining. Waste reduction, which company, which business would not want to reduce waste? You look at it as an ESG compliance, then it becomes a challenge. But if you look at as a resource utilization, then it is not, right? Then it's improving the businesses here. So the question isn't whether to engage with ESG or to be concerned about that particular label. It is just a handhold term to make businesses more efficient and more sustainable. And on-demand CSO services offer that kind of a solution. We are trying to reduce that fear or that uh, uh, what you would say the reluctance to engage to implement an ESG solution by offering our solution, which is first of all, we get world-class expertise. You don't have full-time costs. You don't have to have an uh, wait for a solution, wait for the impact to show itself. There is an immediate implementation of these solutions, and it can be scaled. Once you taste blood and see how it transforms and how it brings money to the business, then you can immediately scale it up for you as well. So the businesses should look at are acting on ESG. The businesses should look at acting on ESG as a kind of a leadership role that they take within their own respective sectors, and not to wait for regulation to force your hand. Because once regulation starts forcing your hand to comply to something, then the cost of implementing something then becomes higher. We look at ESG as a competitive, helping you with a competitive advantage, then we look at it as an investment. If we start looking at it as a compliance thing, then we look at it as a cost. So it's really, which part of which lens do you want to see and benefit from? And it's I mean, quite seriously, it's not an option anymore. It's just good business sense. Yeah.
Thank you all. This has been an incredibly insightful conversation about the future of ESG management. Let me summarize our key takeaways from this discussion. Number one, the challenge is real. Quality ESG expertise is scarce and expensive, but regulatory requirements and market expectations are accelerating. Second, on demand is the solution and the need of the hour. Flexible, cost effective access to world class ESG expertise without the overhead of a full time hiring. There are multiple engagement model options available: project based, time based, milestone driven, hybrid approach, all customized and tailored to your specific needs. Proven results: 60 to 70% cost savings, immediate expertise access, and measurable business outcomes. And finally, we are future ready, scalable support that evolves with your business and the regulatory environment. To all our listeners, ESG transformation is happening with you or without you. The question whether you will lead the change or be forced to catch up. CSO Global's on-demand CSO service makes it possible for every business, regardless of size or sector, to be part of the solution. Thank you once again to our exceptional panel, Dr. Vijaya Pavulari ma'am, David Cole sir, Hargobind Sachdev sir, Raminder Pal Singh sir, and Siddharth for sharing their expertise and insights. In our next episode, we will deep dive into ESG technology and data management, wherein we'll explore how digital transformation can accelerate your sustainability journey. I am Meeta. This is CSO Global, empowering tomorrow sustainably today. Visit us at www.cso-global.com. Connect with us on LinkedIn for CSO Global. If you're ready to start your ESG transformation, come join CSO Global, your trusted partner in 360-degree ESG transformation. Thank you, everybody.